Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us about the FusionDev Story. This session is about Luise, who's a maker, and Elio, who's a developer, who joined forces and founded an online sticker shop called PimpYourOwnDevice.com. And it's based on Microsoft services like M365, Power Platform, Azure Functions, and GitHub. So this event is for anyone who's a maker, who wants to understand why the Fusion Dev approach is beneficial for your projects. It's also for developers who want to learn a little bit more about Power Platform, or business decision makers who want to do more than just collaborating in teams. So thank you so much for joining us to learn more about their engaging story, learn about an indie approach to creating a real world business, and how #BetterTogether comes to life. Quick bio on Elio and Luise, and I'll let them introduce themselves as well. But Luise is a Microsoft 365 consultant, an MVP for Office apps, and a Power Apps developer, a sketchnoter, a blogger, speaker, stickerpreneur, so a whole bunch of stuff. And Elio is an independent engineering lead who works for Valo Intranet. He's a blogger and speaker as well. And yeah, I'll let them take it away from there. Hi, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So welcome to the Fusion Dev Story, and thank you for the introduction. So you already know that I'm the developer. That's also why I wear this shirt, so that you cannot be mistaken by my beautiful maker over here. So first of all, if my clicker, that's always great in these events. There we go. Now it works. So who am I? I'm Elio Struyf. I'm from Belgium. And yeah, nothing more to say about me, except that we both are working for a sticker shop called PimpYourOwnDevice.com. And then we have Luise.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Luise. Currently, I'm also in Belgium originally. I'm from Germany, and I'm the maker in this story.
Yeah, and we came together today because it's much easier than doing it separate, two screens and so on. So it always feels more familiar talking to someone that is actually standing next to you. So let's dive into what we have to say, and then let's go back to the beginning of the year 2020, where there was no COVID. Actually, there was, but
it did not affect us that much.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
It was the time when we were all still traveling and meeting at conferences, and it was just like awesome because we were just like exchanging stickers with other nerds, and we loved it.
Yeah. So Luise was already sending out stickers via a form that she created, and with some, what it was then was Flow. Now we have to say Power Automate. And whenever somebody filled in the flow, the form, automatically the flow would kick in and it would print an envelope for her. What I was doing, because I was also really loving stickers, I was always handing them out at events. Doing some sharing and so on from stickers and putting some bundles of stickers on tables. Until Luise said, hey, maybe you can also create that form. So I started doing that. And quite
was pretty nice to teach you how to do that, because this developer was not familiar a lot with how to do this in back then Microsoft Flow, now Power Automate, and then you did that as well.
Mm-hmm. So it became quite rapidly very popular.
Yeah.
And then I asked the same to Luise, like, is it also very popular on your end? And the problem is that the moment you start sharing that form, it goes everywhere, and you're
viral.
Yeah, and you're sending out stickers for free. And okay, a sticker doesn't always cost a lot, but the moment that you have to send 100 envelopes to all over the world, it starts costing something. And then we started thinking, or then Corona came and we were in a lockdown. And then we were starting to think, like, we have so much time on our hands, we're not really traveling anymore. So why not create a sticker store? Let's try to learn something during that period so that we can actually take advantage of the time that we would normally spend on planes and just lose time. So that's why, or that's how the idea.
That was how it all started.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So what was a form and a flow and an envelope, and then a kid that was just like putting all the envelopes together and bring them to the post office. So then we said we needed to just like professionalize this service. So we came up with the idea of a website, and that was good to have a developer.
Yeah. So normally when you would start selling things online, first of all, you need to have a website, comes with a domain and so on. So same thing for us. But then the second thing was a shopping cart experience. I already had experience with an online shop, which was an integration with WordPress, but I didn't want to go that way anymore. So then we started looking at what kind of things you have these days. You have, for instance, Etsy, or you have Shopify, Snipcart, and so on. And we tried a couple of these things, and eventually we picked one, and we are going to talk about that later. And then you need to start thinking about, okay, if we have a website, if we have a shopping cart experience, start building your inventory. So inventory is also very important, because in the beginning we only had a couple of stickers, I think 15 stickers. Yeah. And then there's also contact management. How are you going to approach your clients and so on, and how are you going to manage them? So there's then the automation part that kicks in. And in all this study, a lot of coffee is involved, because we were doing that after our business hours. So we still have to earn money. And of course, starting a new business always takes time, always takes a lot of effort. So that's why we drank a lot of coffee, to keep ourselves awake in order to study how to do it. So do you want to say more about the standard approach?
So usually it's like quite boring. So there are systems for just like everything, and then you pay a lot of services, and you do not gain a lot of knowledge, because the specialists do what the specialists do. And our main concern was that we do not learn enough from that, because we are both like very, very avid learners and learn it all. And we wanted to just like gain more knowledge and solidify our knowledge, and of course tell a cool story as well. So this was always our goal, and therefore we did not go for the standard approach, which would mean just like creating an online store and integrating an experience and creating full inventory, just like how everyone does that. But we went for the so-called indie approach.
Yeah, so what is this indie approach? And yeah, we just call it our indie way of working, because we wanted to both learn from it. So I had interest in learning what is a Power Platform and what does it have to offer to me as a developer, and even stretch it and take it outside of the Microsoft 365 context, because you always talk with people about Power Automate or the whole Power Platform in general, and we're always talking about services that are running within Microsoft 365. And what we wanted to see is it even possible to take the power out of that system, out of Microsoft 365, and combine it with something else which is running completely outside of the Microsoft 365 stack? And that's actually the first plan that we had. Okay, let's start using Power Automate in combination with this website. So
the experience that we previously had was you need to fill out a form, and then I would just create an envelope, and the kids would just like put the stickers into the envelope. We wanted to just professionalize that. So we built a website, and then we still went for this Power Automate flow to automate the process of sending out the envelopes to our customers.
So we could reuse a lot of what we already built in our forms, like the envelope printing. That was a really good thing, and that's really a beneficial point of the Power Automate platform, because it has all these connectors and tasks that already offer this kind of functionality. And that's good on my end because I don't have to develop it. I don't have to maintain it. So the only thing I have to do is telling, hey, this is a new customer or a new order that comes in. Please create that envelope for me. It's also fun to co-create things because different mindsets. Luise with her maker hat on thinks, okay, this can be done in Power Platform. And I, with my developer hat on, will always say, okay, maybe we can just go for an Azure function and start to implement it like that. There are some good and bad things about it sometimes, because we had experiences where Power Platform was a great way initially, and then all of a sudden we saw that we were having licensing issues, like for instance the Word connector. Then we had to change to a SharePoint connector.
But overall, I would say the experience was quite nice to just like co-create and just like learn from each other what would work best in this case. It's like not saying in the first place, hey, it needs to be a low-code solution, nor it needs to be a custom-developed solution, but just like doing the better together, seriously, in a real world.
And I think we were very dedicated to it, and we were trying to not give up whenever we encountered a licensing issue. So we always try to find our way so that we didn't have to go to the premium version, although we still do because of the HTTP connectors and so on. But we try to use as least as possible these premium connectors. So once we had our co-creation solution behind the scenes, we started creating the website. And that meant that we could start selling our website. So we went for the minimal lovable product, how Luise loves to call it.
That's very important, because a minimal lovable product is just like what people really will love. So, and we loved it as well, because this was just like our baby, and we started very, very small. So as we already told, we just have about 15 or so stickers in the store, and we had no newsletter and no loyalty program.
No comments, ratings.
No comments, ratings. So the full stack solution that we have right now, that was not how we started. But we wanted to start very soon, so we launched very quickly. And still, we had the first orders after a couple of days only. And so although we did the major part still manually, apart from sending out the envelopes, it still was a success. We were able to fulfill a need in the market, because as no one met each other anymore on conferences, no one was able to fulfill that need for new nerdy stickers. And then we came out and said, hey, we do have stickers. Want to have one?
Or was it our needs for stickers that we were filling? Okay. So here is my own changelog. I love to create my own changelogs, even for my private project. So Pimp Your Own Device is not really a private project, but still I have my own changelog. And you can see here from bug fixes and changes that I did during the period that it went live, over time, what we added. Like for instance, over here, you can see that we added a loyalty point system, and reviews have been added, newsletter messages are coming to the website, and so on and so on. So from where it started to where we are right now, as Luise already said, we already have much more to offer than what we had in the beginning of just an inventory where you could just say, hey, this is a nice sticker, I want to order it. So my camera is dying, and hopefully it's going on again for some reason. So if we are looking behind the scenes, and I will try to turn my camera on again. And there it goes. Okay, so behind the scenes, we are using a static site generator, because I love static sites.
Because actually, we can go pretty dynamic with it, huh?
Yeah, actually, it's a pretty dynamic website. That's true. So if you don't know a static site is just pure HTML that gets generated during a build process that is mostly running, for instance, on GitHub, or in our case, on Netlify, which is a service that's offers some hosting. And the benefit of going static is that it's very fast. There is no database behind it, so nobody can actually start hacking it, or they need to start hacking Netlify in order to get to our content. But for the rest, it's only HTML. And then besides that, we went for Snipcart because Snipcart gave us that shopping cart experience for a very low cost. We also checked out a couple of others like Shopify. The cost there is higher and they come with a lot more features. But as we wanted to explore the Power Platform and the knowledge that we already had, for instance, in SharePoint, we didn't want to go that route. So we went for Snipcart to only have that particular thing. And this is how it evolved. So this is how our whole stack looks like. And there is still a part which is Azure, which is not there, but that is covered with Power Automate and Snipcart with webhooks. So static site generator linked with Snipcart and all the management that we do, because Luise normally is in Germany and I'm in Belgium. We collaborate on SharePoint for the sticker. So if I have an ID or she has an ID, we put it on SharePoint and then we can start tweaking it. But also our inventory is living there. So from the moment,
of course, we both love SharePoint as we.
Yeah, we do it on a daily basis. Yeah, indeed. And an inventory for stickers is a very simple database because there's no relationships. We try to go to what is now called Dataverse, but it was a little bit too complicated, and the price tag was a little bit too high as well for this kind of solution. And then besides that, Power Automate is what makes it so good, because the moment we update anything in SharePoint, it will automatically start triggering the static site generator in order to rebuild the site, in order to update the site with the new inventory and with the new stock. Like, for instance, if a sticker goes out of stock, then you see it on the button that you cannot buy it anymore, and so on and so on. So very neat solution.
That I can just like fix the typo on my mobile, and even then everything just like gets updated, as we say, automatically.
Automatically, indeed.
Yeah, what a unicorn.
There are even unicorns on our website. So
there are unicorns on our website. So I think we are the first tech sticker website with unicorns on it. I think it's fair enough to say that.
Yeah.
I believe in that.
Somebody is mad now, and or there's already a tweet going on and saying, "Hey, we were the first."
Okay.
But
I need new haters because the old ones started to like us.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we look at the publishing process, I already talked a little bit about it, but what is the typical flow? So if we are going to talk about that process, everything starts in SharePoint. So we have a call mostly on Friday, and then we start talking, okay, what are we going to release? In the past, we were doing bulk shipments of stickers, or we bought them in bulk. Now we have our own sticker printer, so we don't have to wait anymore. So if we have a crazy idea, like yesterday, all of a sudden I had an idea, I just created a sticker, I print it, and then if it makes sense, then we add it to our inventory. It's we don't have to wait anymore until the batches of stickers arrive. So that's really cool.
It's like a super fast process. So from idea to something is in the store, it can be just like minutes.
Yeah, indeed. So then I create a couple of stickers, I take a picture from it, I add that to the inventory. We need to give a title, we need to set the price, the dimensions, and so on. But from the moment it's added to the inventory, a Power Automate flow kicks in, and it starts the build process. And what does it mean? It's going to call Netlify, and it's going to say, hey, Netlify, there are some changes. And on Netlify, our static site generator kicks in, and it retrieves all of the inventory or all of the stickers that are there. And it starts building these HTML pages for all the stickers. Netlify is smart enough to update only the pages that have changed. So it pushes that online. And then from the moment it's pushed, the site is actually live. And the customers can actually go to the website and see that new product or new sticker that is available. So it's a very dynamic story. Okay, we have a very small, or no, it's not really a small site, but it's not that we have hundreds of orders in minutes that are coming in. So if you would do it for a really large web shop, this is not a solution, of course, because then the process from adding the inventory to showing it to the customer is taking a minute or two. And we also have the buying process, and that's very similar. So if we take adding to the inventory, buying, and then updating everything again, that takes, let's say, worst case, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have thousands of users to your website and they start all buying, yeah, then you need to have a database behind your website. But in our case, we don't need to have that database because we don't expect, or we would love to, that we have thousands of orders each minute. But that's never going to happen.
Probably,
we think.
Then we will need to think about our business model again,
yeah.
as consultants.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So, but if we talk about that buying process, what is happening there? So the customer comes to our website, picks stickers that they like, and then from the moment they say, okay, now this is okay, this is the order that I want to do, they do the checkout, and then Snipcart will call Power Automate in order to say, hey, there is a new order. Power Automate, whenever it starts up, it will retrieve the information from Snipcart, and it will pass that onwards to the SharePoint list where we keep our orders and update our PYOD point status. So we have a loyalty program, which is automatically created and automatically updated by Power Automate and the Azure functions that are running behind the scenes as well. So
and the inventory gets updated as well because
yeah,
if they buy stickers, we have less stickers, so we need to reflect that.
Yeah, indeed. So what does that loyalty program mean? So every time a user buys something, they get points, and once you have 50 points, you get a discount for the next order. And that will be automatically sent. And in the beginning, we did that manually. So we kept a record, but as orders kept coming in, we were like, yeah, this is something we cannot do manually anymore. So that's why we created that.
Like, let's automate just like
yeah,
everything.
Yeah, indeed. So our loyalty program is running on the Power of Power platform, which is really cool. So if this whole flow ran, then it's going to notify the customer, like a typical experience that you would expect that you ordered something in the store. And that's a very rapid process. So within a minute, you already have your email. So within a minute, Snipcart already called Power Automate. Power Automate already put everything into SharePoint. Our Azure function already calculated the new point status. And you have your notification. So very fast, I would say, and then that's also what we love about the power of Power Automate.
Yeah.
It's fast, and you don't have to wait for it.
It's super fast and was pretty easy to set up.
Yeah.
So it was not rocket science, but still, so of course, we need to think about it. But it works just like as a charm.
Yeah. So.
And then we learned something.
Yeah.
So when we were really just like growing and had more stickers and gained more visibility as well, we learned something. So in the first place, we thought that individual persons were our customers, just like everyone who usually would attend a conference or just our fellow nerds. We thought that. And then we realized that companies and conferences and communities wanted to be our customers as well. And then we landed our very first major gig, I would say.
Yeah, indeed, where we are very happy of.
We are very happy of that because Microsoft became our first big corporate client. And so we did something for the German Hochschul community, which is a university community, which Microsoft hosts. And so happens that I'm the community manager in this project, and they were pretty keen on having a nice design as well. And what you can see on this screen right now is the official site on Microsoft.com, and you can read it at aka.ms.
I'm going. I'm seeing that the sound is horrible. So let me take my microphone and let's put it in front of us. Is this better?
Is it better now?
Here. Let's see where Teams is gone.
Elio, I can hear you better. Luise, I think you're still a little fuzzy.
Okay.
Interesting, because the microphone is just in front of us. So but now my Teams client is gone, and that's a very weird thing. Oh, there it is.
If tech only was easy, huh?
Yeah, indeed. Let's see if the audio gain. Is this better?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit better than before.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you start
So I will just do this.
Perfect. I'm going to do something to my microphone because now I hear myself. Okay. Very good. So let's continue.
So we will continue with story. Now I have an alpha echo.
Yeah, otherwise you just.
Okay, cool.
Hi, Luise and Elio. I think the audio has just cut out.
Companies, which made us very happy.
Yeah. So we had to come up with a different kind of solution because companies don't like to buy just sticker by sticker. So the website we use is more for individuals.
So it's B2C.
Yeah, B2C, and then a B2B process is there as well. Okay, so we built our own order system and our order management because the moment conferences started to contact us in order to get discount code for stickers for their attendees and so on, it became very tricky to manage everything with Snipcart, as they still have it. But if you all of a sudden have to give out 400 of these discount codes, yeah, in Snipcart you have to manually create each and every discount code. So,
and I don't believe in manual work anymore, just because we automated everything so far. So Elio had a nice job to develop our order management system, and so he did. So this is what you can see here right now.
So this order management system is yet again a static site, which runs on the power of React, so it's a development thing, and it calls into APIs from Snipcart and from SharePoint because that's where our inventory and our orders are, and so that's where we can manage everything. So if we are going to an order, for instance, all the details from the customer are now removed because I cannot do that or I cannot show that, but this is what it looks like. There's the images. In the beginning, there were not even images, but my kids love to pack these envelopes. So for them, they are images so that they can just pick out the right stickers, put them in the envelopes, and then I just need to do the quality check. And the checkboxes are there as well for them. So they click the checkboxes, and then at the bottom, you see ship. From the moment you click ship, it's automatically going to send the email to the person that ordered it and saying, hey, your order has been shipped, and so on. You also see a couple of other buttons at the bottom. That's for sending out or printing out the labels so that I can just take the label, put it on the envelope, and so on. So that system got a little bit changed. So instead of printing the envelope, it's now creating the labels for me, and I just have to print the labels instead of printing the envelopes, because actually it was my printer that was giving up on me with my envelopes. It didn't want to take my envelopes anymore, and now it takes my my labels, which is pretty neat and much quicker than the envelope printing.
So at least this is how we tell the story, that your kids love to do that instead of you shamelessly abusing the kids.
No, we pay them with fancy T-shirts from I Love Stickers and so on.
Yes, so because apart from designing stickers, we came up with a T-shirt shop as well. So some of our designs, you can
because
still
people
have
were
them.
requesting it. So.
Yeah, you can buy them as shirts because some designs were so successful that people requested to have that as a shirt or as a hoodie, and then we did that as well.
Yeah. So yet again, another change that I'm going to do. If I'm going to give a different resolution. So let's talk about low code
and code.
So behind the scenes, so if you go to the website, of course, the website itself, that is purely driven by code. But the backend, what we use for order management and so on, is all running or mostly running on low code. So Luise, tell me more about what we actually have there.
Yeah, so we have a couple of flows in Power Automate to send out the discount codes, to trigger net reply, to update our inventory list in SharePoint, and of course the Snipcart webhook to create the envelope after an order came in, and the loyalty points to our user. And you can see that the loyalty points, that was the one that you created, just because this is the one that is not under shared with me.
Yeah, and shared with me is actually shared with myself.
Yeah, but it needed to be a team flow.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So flow wouldn't be flow if you really see what's actually happening there. So we just took the biggest flow that we can get, which is the order flow, and that's what you can see here. So let's see if my magnifier is going to work. No, today nothing wants to work anymore. So
it's almost the last working day before Christmas, so it's just like normal that just like everything just like wants to give up. Means you deserve a new machine, means you have more space for stickers.
Okay.
Because it turns out that we are pretty good customers at PYOD.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, when an order comes in at Snipcart, we call in our flow. So we call the flow, and this is what's happening over here. So when an HTTP request is received, then we are going to check what kind of message is being received. So Snipcart has a couple of these status things, like there is somebody going to check out, or it's already checked out. We
only want to get the open ones.
Indeed. No. So we are going to retrieve the amount of what's actually being bought. We are going to check how much has been sold, which stickers, and so on. And all these values, they need to be initialized. So that's what we do here. Then the next thing is checking if the order is complete. That's what's happening here. And then if the order is complete, then we go to the yes statement. If not, then we don't do anything. Before we had something there, but we removed that, and we didn't update that anymore. As there is multiple items inside an order, we have the apply to each. So over each and every item, we are going to create new items. Basically, that's how Snipcart is working, because it can be that there's multiple orders coming in at the same time, and then they batch it or bulk do it. So you have multiple orders coming in there. So most of the time one, but sometimes it can happen that there's multiple. That's why you have the apply to each. Then it creates the item in SharePoint. It applies all the addresses, and then we're going to check If the second address is filled in, some cities have a
just
second.
like people sometimes say, hey, this is my invoicing address and this is my shipping address, and therefore just like we needed to have to build in some loops, but just to make it proof for everyone.
Indeed. Then we are going to do some variable setting. That's actually a combination of this address that is filled in, and we are going to combine it into one field, because on the label that we are going to create, which is actually then a Word template, which you see here at the bottom, we want to have the address line on one thing, because otherwise, you spread it, or in the beginning we had one address and then we had to verify if there was still a second line. And there are some things underneath it as well, but that's for calling in Netlify in order to say, hey, Netlify, and that's just an HTTP call. But this is actually most of the things that we are doing behind the scenes.
It always starts with a call, and then we would just like process our information. And as you can see, of course, it took a while to just like figure out everything. But in the end, it was just like building blocks.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So, and then comes the code part. So what are we actually running on the code? Code runs on multiple levels. So we have the level of Netlify, where we actually do things whenever we are going to build. Like, for instance, from the moment we are going to build, we are going to call into an Azure function in order to receive the latest update of our inventory. But also our loyalty program is there. Power Automate is going to call it, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of things. Like, for instance, here you see the inventory updater. This is going to run each time something in the inventory is going to update. So, and that's what you can see on the 17th today. There were a couple of orders probably, and a couple of updates. Stickers. And we added a sticker. So that's what you can see over here. So it's actually pretty quick to retrieve it. And we got a question: who makes the API call to trigger your flow? That's actually Snipcart. So Snipcart works with webhooks. A webhook is a registration that you do that specifies, hey, it comes with a registration process and an approval of Snipcart sends something to your service has to respond, and then the registration is created. And from the moment that registration is created, every time something new comes in, it will do the call for you. So it will automatically do that, and it's just an HTTP call. But a webhook is just based on a trust and based on a mechanism that needs to be kept alive. So it's every now and then it needs to update itself, but that's an automated process. But it's a very good question. So it's not something that we have to manually run. As Luise said, everything is automated. So we don't have to be part of the process. So it's all. And
it's super important for us that everything is automated, because then we can focus on the interesting parts of that business, which means ideation and making customers happy. And it's not just like updating lists or caring to update anything else. It's just like ideation and yes, from time to time, give the kids a new shirt so that they would fulfill our orders.
So before we are going to say, hey, this is the end, let's quickly go to a demo there. So let me, and my microphone is a little bit in my way, but that's okay. So let's see where my browser is going to end up. Of course, on the wrong screen. So no, I don't want to have you as a default browser. But if I'm going to pyod.shop.
Oh, you need to tell us the story about pyod.shop, because there is a story around that.
Yeah, indeed.
And it has something to do with automation.
Yeah, that as well. So very interesting. So pyod.shop is actually our bit.ly, our URL shortener. If you're going to create your own store-like experience, then the first thing that you might not know anything about is, how do I marketize my brand? And that's also what we are still trying to figure out, is where is our market? How do we, or can we make our brand bigger and bigger? And we tried already Twitter, we tried Google advertisements, and we tried Instagram, and we saw that there's a lot of fuzz going on Instagram. So
as it is just like more visually appealing, and people interested in design will probably just use it. But on Insta, we do have a little issue, because you can only share a URL in your bio, which means in your profile. And this needs to be fixed. So you can't just share a clickable link in a post, which means if you want to do that, you can, but you can't click on it as a user. And this means we needed to have a very, very short URL so that people would recognize that, or just like know it by heart. So Elio came up with this URL shortener and a nice cheat sheet from me, so that I could just like post that on Insta as well. And perhaps you can show the...
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Cool.
So what Luise was saying, that these URLs are way too long in order to actually think about it. But if you are going to pyod.shop, and you can actually do that as well. So there's an admin section, and this is, it's not that you can manage anything there, but this is where all the short links are. So I can, for instance, click on this copy button, and then it's going to create me 083. And when I click on it, it will automatically redirect me to the website. So this is what we use for Instagram, because that's easier to remember. Now, there are a couple of interesting things, like, for instance, the contact card, that is an API call, but there's also the earn the discounts. And this is where, for instance, our Azure functions are going to kick in. So
because perhaps we need to explain first that we run without a user.
Yeah, indeed. So as we don't have a database, or we actually have a database, if you call SharePoint a database,
no,
but everyone,
you won't.
Yeah, everyone is going to say SharePoint is not a database. So we also don't want to have a login experience, but we have in SharePoint or loyalty system. So I can, for instance, say, hey, or let's do it like Elio at consulting.b. I can request it, and maybe for people that want to see what's going to happen, is when I'm going to request it, it's actually going to do a check to our loyalty. And here it's going to fail because my point status is not there. So my account doesn't exist, but still it's going to say, hey, thank you, it was sent. But if you're existing, then it's going to, normally it's going to say always okay. So
yes,
maybe
it always says okay.
Yeah, it always says okay. So maybe there was a problem with my service, or maybe I didn't check it. Okay, but it's going to always send okay, so it's not that you can bypass or and go and check if that exists. But if you're in our system, then now you would receive an email. And how does it work? You first call into the Azure function. The Azure function does its work, and it's going to say, okay, this user actually exists in our database, and he or she wants to have the point status. So it's going to kick in a Power Automate flow, which does the same magic as what you saw before. It's going to retrieve the point status, and it's going to send out the email, because the email then can be sent from our user account, which is pretty neat. Otherwise, I had to yet again use another service on our Azure function. And
I really like this, that this website calls an Azure function, and that the Azure function then calls the flow, and then that the user gets the email. So it's pretty nice.
So is there anything else that we want to show here? Yes,
we do want to show something. So we have two very geeky things to show. The GitHub commit history thing that you created.
That's also
and PYOB, our first spinoff.
Yeah, so as we are at the end of the year and there are some users that want to show off their commit history, we got a question of creating a sticker of the commit history, and that's what we did over here. So whenever you fill in your GitHub username, it will automatically fetch it yet again within Azure Function. It's going to fetch it and it's going to retrieve, create the image, and then it's going to provide the image to the website, and then you can actually order it. So that's a pretty neat thing, and that's yet again the power of a function. And yeah, there you need to use codes because you probably can do it with Power Automate, but it's going to...
It would really be a stretch, let's say it like that.
And that's also a very good thing to note on the FusionDev story of how far can you stretch a platform before you're going to actually have the tipping point to move to development, because we want to keep the power or the flow as simple as possible. So that you don't have to do too much of parsing of strings, manipulating data, and so on. So we want to keep that part as simple as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to maintain. Like, for instance, people that are using the Microsoft Graph within their flows, where they first have to retrieve authentication tokens and so on. Yes, that's doable, but is that the right approach? Is that something you see yourself doing and managing over time? Or is that where you would have to say, okay, this is my tipping point to move actually to an Azure function because it's less code over there and it's maybe easier to maintain?
Yeah, so we wanted to keep things maintainable.
Yeah.
Because we need to support it by ourselves.
Yeah, indeed. So, and then, yeah, we have another website, which is indeed a spin-off. I love biking. So if I go to byob.shop, it's pimp your own bike, and yet again, running on the same platform. And what we do here, or what I do here, is if I fill in my name, then it creates myself a name sticker, and I can add some images. I can put a dino there or a dinosaur, because kids love it, or especially my kids wanted to have a dinosaur there. And then I can add it to my cart. And yet again, this is a function, and you will immediately spot it. So if it's added to my cart, and if I'm going to open my cart, you see the sticker here. And with some magic of the developer tools.
Now you're bragging, huh?
No, the developer tools are not really magic, but that's what you can see here. And let me make this a little bit bigger. So this here, this image, what is being retrieved calls into a function, and it will automatically create an SVG file on my storage account in Azure. So yet again, power of Azure Functions running in a FusionDev story and leveraging all the cloud story of Microsoft, but still, we are using Microsoft 365, but with so many other things as well.
Yeah, so usually when you're talking about Power Automate, you would think about Office scenarios. And we did not go for Office scenarios at all. So we're running, it is a small business, but we're running our whole business with Microsoft's Power. And we're, of course, touching a lot of points, but we were able to stretch that quite a bit, just because we went for this better together approach and refused to just like pay some whatever services to do our shopping experience.
So I think this was the last thing that we wanted to show. There was another question, and let me move this. There was another question. It's completely off topic, but it's interesting to hear about the supply chain and the full process from sticker manufacturing to shipping. A really good thing.
Wow, that's a nice story. So as a consultant, I would say it depends, but it always starts with someone or So we're talking quite a lot, and then we just have an idea, and mostly we have this idea just like together. So this really is a process of co-creating, and then we have a first initial idea and we sketch something. And
the good thing is that we are in my office where most of these things happen. So let me go to my drawer and let me take a couple of things that we started testing.
Yes. So this is the magic of a live demo. And this would not happen at an in-person event, because at an in-person event, I don't know if you would take all those things with you.
So what happens in the ideation process? These things happen. So that's actually an
cutting board,
a cutting board, a ruler, something to laminate, and then a very sharp knife. And that's what we use during the ideation process. So if we have an idea, we start sketching it, then we start printing it, and then we use these things in order to check out if this is going to make sense.
And once we did that, we try out on our own machines.
Yeah, indeed. And then what we then do is, we already have a sticker printer, or we purchase a sticker printer because of companies starting to contact us. So we said, okay, maybe we have to start investing a little bit more in this company in order to fulfill the needs of all our customers. And then, for instance, we get these requests like that's what you see over here, just a JavaScript sticker. But this is a sticker that I created yesterday where I had the idea, oh, code happens. So I print it, and then I can automatically laminate it. My printer can automatically cut everything out. And then you have these nice stickers as well. So you have, and now you're the very first one that sees an exclusive sticker of an event that is happening next year. So, but
hi, Mark.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. We didn't know that we were already allowed to share that. So that's how it goes. So from the moment we then say, okay, this is working, and it's a very nice sticker, then we place it on our laptops like this, and you get such kind of a device. That's also the beauty of having your own sticker printer, that you can just print and put whatever on your laptop. And then we check it out, if it works, if it's visually appealing.
So we tweet about it, we put it on Insta. So we just try to gain some feedback. And if we see people like it, then we just put it on our store, which means we take a very nice picture. And after that, we create an item in our SharePoint list. And after this item is created in the SharePoint list, the flow takes off, and we'll rebuild our site so that after a minute or so, you can actually buy the sticker.
Yeah, indeed. So the stickers are in boxes. Actually, I love Lego. You wouldn't have noticed it, I think. So these are my Lego boxes. And this is where I keep a stock of each and every sticker that I have. So if you buy a sticker, then I can just take a box and then I can retrieve the sticker from there. So besides Lego, these boxes are very useful for nails, but also for stickers.
Yep.
So you buy a sticker, the flow kicks in, everything comes in the order system. And then from the moment it comes in the order system, if my kids want to do it, then they can do it. If not, then I do it. And then I just go over each and every sticker that I need to put in the envelope, place the labels on it, and I send it. So I do it to the post office. And that's it. That's actually the whole flow of how an idea comes to life, how we start communicating and testing out things, to printing these tests, and so on. So that's it on that question. I hope that that covered it. Is there another one?
Yes. Do you have any artificial intelligence stickers? Not But I think it's a very, very cool
for
idea.
the high school community. That was actually an artificial intelligence sticker that we created.
But that was just like exclusively for Microsoft. But of course, we should do something for AI related.
Very good feedback.
Very good feedback. So we will write that down, of course. And in our next session, so usually we talk on Friday, so perhaps we should have our weekly tomorrow as well, now that I'm here. And we will talk about that.
Yeah, I mentioned what was the URL shortener that we used. Actually, we have our own URL shortener, which is byod.shop, but you can also use Bitly. But the one that I created is automating everything for us.
We just wanted to make our brand very, very, very appealing.
Yeah.
So we did not went for Bitly and just like take away the opportunity to show our brand name.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, somebody is asking if there is a subscription that we took, but as we are not using Bitly, it's just an example because I use Bitly for Twitter with my own personal domain on it, and that's where I use the free version. So I took the example of Bitly as the URL shortener. Are you paying for the premium Power Automate accounts? Would it be cheaper to create it as a logic app instead? Right now, we are not paying for the premium accounts because we filtered out almost everything that is premium, apart from the HTTP trigger. Although it says that an HTTP trigger is premium, we can still use it. So for some reason, but
keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. But before we were using an what was it?
The word connector.
The word connector, which retrieves a template, and then inside that template,
you can just like populate that template with those values that you gain from the shipping cart.
Yeah, and that uses also a premium connector. And from the moment we started using that, our flow stopped because of the premium licensing. So we removed that. So that's something we don't use anymore.
So logic apps could be an advantage. So, and as we both have credits, perhaps that would just like be an alternative for us. But right now, I do not see any advantage to move to Power Automate from Power Automate to logic apps.
Then we have a question from Dennis. Where are you actually hosting your website? AWS, Azure, Firebase, or somewhere else? Another very good question.
Yes.
I love to explore what is out there. I love to work on Azure, but I also want to know what is available everywhere else. And there are a couple of good cloud platforms for static websites like Netlify and Vercel, but Azure is also having their own static applications or static web app. So our Pimp Your Own Bike runs on Vercel, which was Zeit in the past. Our PYOD runs on, our PYOD.shop runs on the power of Azure Website or Azure Static Web Apps, which is currently in preview. And then we have the third one, which is pimpyourowndevice.com, that runs on Netlify. And the reason why I took these three is just to explore the capabilities and the features of what each and every of these cloud platforms has to offer, because still I'm also a consultant like Luise, and I need to provide the best guidance to my customers as well. So that's why I also like to explore these platforms with actual real use cases, not like saying, yeah, maybe it's better because of that. No, I just want to see if it's actually better, and also provide feedback to the Azure Static Web App team, for instance, of saying, hey, this is what Vercel does. Maybe in your preview, you could add this in order to make your product better.
Yeah,
so
this is how we learn the best. It's just like by making real world experiences instead of just like watching a video or reading a blog post, but just like by doing it ourselves.
Yeah, so maybe that's a good one for you. Dennis also asked if he misunderstood the FusionDev name, if it's a technology or what is it?
So actually FusionDev, so you know Microsoft can't stop renaming things and can't stop renaming people, and a FusionDev team is a team of makers, so to say citizen developers who used to use low-code approaches and traditional developers, and if they come together we have a FusionDev team. And it just means that we take the best out of both approaches to achieve more together.
Very nice. Sorry, I'm going to quickly, oh, for some reason doesn't want to do that. Okay, I wanted to share something, and Flash or Flask or damn, I cannot speak anymore. Python, yeah. So Python, maybe a Python sticker.
Yeah, well, we should do it.
So if you have ideas, just feel free to contact us on Twitter, or you can also do it with hello@pimpyourowndevice.com.
We will read it.
Yeah. Another very last thing, because I know it's time. But what we also have on our websites is a community section, and there is right now not one of them. Oh, here is a good one. Everyone hates on-prem. So there's a sticker from somebody we know that wanted to share his sticker on our website. And here we are not taking any credits for it. So we are saying, hey, this is the person that created it, but also all stickers that we sell that are community based, the money that we gain from it, we give it back to charity. So you can actually, there's also a counter, and my mouse is gone. So if you go to the community section, there's even a counter that is currently, we still need to pay charity 62 euros. So for all these stickers that are there. So yeah, every time that I pay, I put it back to zero because I want to know how much. Maybe we can.
We can automate that.
Yeah, indeed. But you also see there's a sticker from Microsoft, API by day, IPA by night. I love beer, as I'm living in Belgium, so we need to like beer. But that was actually it. So if there are more questions, feel free to ping us.
Find us on Twitter, send us an email. Thank you for attending.
And if you have cool ideas or cool stickers to share, feel free to contact us as well, because we can add them there for you. So thank you. I think that was 2 minutes over time, but
I think that's okay because we started 2 minutes later.
Yeah, with the technical difficulties.
Yeah,
and hopefully the sound was a lot better afterwards. So sorry for that.
Great. Well, thank you, Elio. Thanks, Luise.